The Angry Chicken is a production of A-Move TV. Bookmark amove.tv for more gaming and esports shows. The Angry Chicken is directly supported by listeners like you via patreon.com/TAC.
Everyone, get in here! Ready for action! I've got the beast in my sight.
A podcast about Hearthstone, Heroes of Warcraft. This is The Angry Chicken.
For once, I'm glad we did this show on a Tuesday. This is The Angry Chicken. I am Garrett Weinzerl. The empty spot is Willie Dills Gregory. He is actually here today. He's just grabbing his coffee mug. And the smiling Canadian to my left, but right on the screen, stage left, is Jocelyn Moffat.
That's me, the smiling Canadian.
That was perfect timing, almost.
Almost. You're so close,
So
man.
close.
You
Right
need
as the
to...
intro started, I hear the whistle going. I'm like, oh no!
Well, good job covering it up. We didn't hear any of the whistle, and now we're ruining it by talking
Now we're
about it.
revealing, exactly. Pulling back the curtain.
And now I'm by myself talking to myself. That's chaos theory.
Listen, we should probably spend a long time talking about this coffee because there's nothing else to talk about today. in
Exactly.
Hearthstone.
It's going to be such a short show.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know. We should have just postponed a week, probably.
Let's just spend the entire show talking about Amnesiac. What do you say?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
We
yeah.
should delve into
I
the
wanna-
inner workings of a 16-year-old.
Yeah, I want to talk about a 16-year-old acting his age to a T, to an absolute T. And that T stands for tirade. But anyways, yeah, so it's another week. For the first time, I think, in the history of the show, it's good that we did a Tuesday show. I mean, we always do it on Tuesday. So I want everyone to remember this when you go to formulate your tweet on the next Wednesday or Thursday or Friday when big news comes out and be like, you guys need to change your date. And all I'm going to reply with is, nothing ever comes out consistently on the same day. It is what it is. It
used to come out consistently on Mondays. Tuesdays. It used to come out consistently on Tuesdays because when we recorded on Monday, we were always one day early. And then Yang Wu actually tweeted us. It was like, why do you guys record on Mondays? Because you always miss the news. We usually put it out on Tuesdays. So we changed the show to Tuesdays, and now they're just like,
all right,
here's some news on Thursdays. How about Monday? What about Friday?
All right, I'm gonna drop the skinny on the inner workings of Young Woo. 9 times out of 10, he's just messing with us. He's not actually a Blizzard employee saying, "Hey guys, you should probably record on this day." It's really just him having fun.
I think that he did that to us on purpose. I think he wanted to see how much power over us he really had. So he was like, hey, you guys should record on Tuesdays. And then we switched the show, and then he's like, news on Wednesdays.
We're even now then because we got Youngwoo and Rachel Davis to change their Twitter handles. So
yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Tit for tat.
Tit for tack. There we go. Yeah. Anyways, before we get into the news, of which there is much to talk about, I do want to remind everyone that we are doing another Three-Headed Chicken stream tomorrow. Same tack time, same tech stream. So it's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern time right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV. Not necessarily the Angry Chicken related, but definitely Hearthstone related. This weekend, if you are a Floridian or visiting Florida, we are having the Florida Fireside in Orlando again. It is running from Friday to Sunday. It is the same venue as all of the past Firesides and CreateCon. And we're also playing host to Winter Tavern Hero players who are competing for one of the final spots in the winter playoffs. And then on day 2 and day 3, if anyone at our location is still in, we'll be hosting players who are actually in the winter playoffs. So very, very cool stuff. Come on by. Information can be found over at meetup.com/Florida Fireside. Now that PSA is out of the way, news!
Good news, everyone!
News today is brought to you by HelloFresh.com, of which I've spent, I believe, many episodes now talking about how I am a terrible cook. I'm very bad at it. I'm also very lazy. I don't like going shopping. Even when I do, I'm very bad at actually picking out things that go well together, and then I end up opening my cupboard and being like, hot dogs And chocolate. I can't do anything with this. Alas. Thankfully, HelloFresh.com
You've
has
never
me covered.
heard of hot dogs with chocolate?
Is this a Canadian thing? Did I just stumble into a random Canadian thing?
Street meat.
Yes, chocolate street meat. Is that what this is called, Jocelyn?
Street meat is a brand
I
new
did.
name, by the
I
way.
did find out that apparently Canadian street meat is different than apparently New York also has street meat, but they're different because we barbecue ours. They boil it, and that's disgusting.
Well, thank God for HelloFresh, so I don't have to eat street meat.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank God for them, so I don't have to do either of those things because they both sound terrible. But if you are unfamiliar, they're the meal kit delivery service. They bring fresh, ready-to-cook meals straight to your doorstep. And we have all used them. We love them very much. Go to HelloFresh.com. And if you would like $35 off of your first week of deliveries, well, they've got a deal for you, Angry Chicken listeners. Use the code TAC35 when you subscribe over at HelloFresh.com for $35 off. Now,
35 when you subscribe. Wow.
oh, yeah.
Well done.
He's a poet and didn't know it. So there's some really big changes coming to Hearthstone as of what, like 3 hours ago? I think this got announced. And
Yeah, give or take.
yeah, so I guess we should start with what's happening with ranked. So there's nerfs, and then there's a big change to ranked ladder coming. And what's happening with ranked is Team 5 and Blizzard will be updating the game very soon to have what they are calling floors in ranked play on the ranked ladder. So there will be floors at ranks 15, rank 10, and rank 5. And when you reach these ranks, 15, 10, and 5, and also 20, but that's always been the case, you will not be able to fall below those ranks from losses anymore. You'll be locked in above 15 once you reach there, and then 10, and then 5, so on and so forth. I'm really excited about this. Also, I don't know where I've ever heard this before.
Yeah, it's almost like a
Totally
thing we've
new to
never
us.
discussed or even thought was viable. Yeah, this is good. I actually think this is really good. It's a start in the right direction, and it definitely will do what they're hoping it does, which is get people to, once they get to like rank 10 or whatever, if they think that's kind of it for them, some people would just stop playing, right? If they think I'm not going to get any higher than this in the season, they would just stop playing. But now you could just, I don't know, play some milkshake priest or something. Like, you can have fun knowing that it doesn't matter.
Whoa. You can have fun?
It's crazy,
On
Jocelyn.
ladder?
This is a thing.
Oh
thing.
man,
Fun. Yes.
I need a minute. I gotta,
Yeah,
I gotta recover.
There was a bit of I would maybe throwaway comment is a bad way to put it, but there was a comment it was Zariah's post on the actual forums that said, we hope this promotes additional deck experimentation between ranks and that any losses that may occur feel less punishing. I don't think I've ever agreed with them more. Like, I really think this is going to have that effect. Right? I mean, I'm less afraid now. Like you said, Dills, you can hit 5 and be like, all right, let's see how Milkshake does at rank 5. And
Exactly.
you're not just going to be nauseous the entire time while you do it.
They're going to be like different tiers of legend, right? Like, I almost want them, and look, I hate being the guy who gets good news and then is like, oh, but what about this? But I almost want them to like give them names other than just
I
like
was
ranks.
gonna ask if we thought that was gonna
Yeah,
happen.
because then you could say, because right now, like I made this claim on my Getting to Legend video about how people just think of there being 2 ranks, right? Legend and not legend. And nobody says like I'm a rank 5 player as a thing that like that's an accomplishment I got. But what if you called like rank 5 platinum and then like 10 was gold, 15 was bronze, and then you had whatever below, like you could figure it out. But you just say that, and then you're like, oh, I'm a gold player, right? And then you get up to, and you're like, whoa, I'm platinum this season. This is awesome. Like, I think that would even be even more. That's like a step further. But I don't think this is the last we're going to see of ladder changes. I think this is like the initial phase, right, to make ladder better. So
Right, but I think like the reason why I think this is great, and I think renaming them might be a good direction to take, is because this kind of gives people exactly what we've been calling for, which is basically an identity in Hearthstone. Like, you can now say, I am consistently a rank blah player, a 15, a 10, a 5, whatever. Like, that's where I am. And then you have the feeling that once you hit that, anything else is bonus, right? So if I feel like I'm a rank 10 player, I hit rank 10, I go, oh, sweet. All right, I've gotten, I'm at my rank now. I'm where I'm supposed to be. Now I can just do whatever. And if I end up at 8, great. but I'm never going to go below where I feel I should be. And I think that's going to give a lot of players more of a sense of identity and a sense of accomplishment. And I think that that's really important for the rank ladder, because right now there's just so many people that are saying what a terrible experience it is. And no matter, where you feel like you fit in, it's just, you don't ever have that, I guess proof is probably the wrong word, but you can be all over the place over the course of a month. And this gives it a little bit of stability, I think.
It's like confirmation. It's not like proof.
Exactly.
It's like self-confirmation, right?
Yes,
Like, know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And then you fall back and you're like, oh no, is this where I'm supposed to be? But now, and also, I mean, we should mention that by default, this will mean more players will reach legend, because the times where you maybe just went on a bad streak and you went from like rank 4 to 8, that won't happen anymore. Right?
Yeah, you'll just hit 5 and then you'll just keep losing at 5.
Because actually, this happened to me last season. I got to rank 3, and then I went like 0-20, which was crazy. I was playing like mid-range aggro shaman. I'm like, how is this happening? But everyone else was also playing that deck, so it was basically just a run of bad luck, right? And I got tilted and whatever, and I went back to like rank 8, and I was like, well, screw the ladder this season. I'm done.
Yeah.
But if I'd gone back to rank 5, I might have been like, okay, whatever. Like, let's shut it down for the night, and we'll come back tomorrow, and we're still rank 5. It's okay. I think that experience going away is going to be huge. Like, I basically rage quit ladder, right? And that won't happen under this system, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, I did the same thing in my closest to legend that I ever got run, because I got up to rank 1, 3 stars, and then fell all the way back to 5, and like table flipped, never doing this again. I hate this. This is stupid. So like, this is, and you're right, it's going to make a lot more people reach legend, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
This is actually not going to make that many more. It's just a few. Like, that experience doesn't happen to probably, more than a handful of people every season, but those people will be able to push through. I don't think that this affects anything else, though, right? Like, bonus stars, all that's the same.
Yep.
This
bonus
is
stars at the end of the month, all that's the same. This is literally the only thing, is the floors.
Everything is the same. Yep. Yeah, I like it.
I also like Mega Hentoid's comment in the chat room saying it should be common, uncommon, rare, epic, and legend for the names of the buckets.
I've totally said that on this show, like probably 2 years ago.
Oh, did you? I didn't. Anyways, that would be really, really cool, because then it has the Hearthstone twist on, the gold, platinum, all the rest of it that like Heroes and Overwatch does. I don't know. I've never done competitive Overwatch.
Overwatch does that too. They have really granular numbers, but they also have bronze through diamond, etc. All that kind of stuff. So I would like to see that in here as well. Yeah, I'm stoked about this. I really am. I'm with you too. Let's get actual, like, easy to identify with things to cover these gaps. Bronze through diamond would be fine, but using your own Hearthstone terminology, totally fine too. But I dig this
and that's
a
it,
lot.
right? That's it in the news.
That's it. There's nothing.
That's it.
There's nothing. Oh my God, the XSplits has a mind of its own. We're going over now to incoming nerfs that are actually real. Oh my God, guys! Spirit Claws and Small Time Buccaneer. I can't believe it. Okay, yeah, this is the biggest news today. This is all anyone is talking about. So let's pile on. Spirit Claws and Small Time Buccaneer are both getting nerfed. Spirit Claws is having its mana cost changed from 1 to 2. To 2, it's going to cost you 2 mana to cast Spirit Claws, guys. Other than that, it's exactly the same.
That's almost twice as much.
What school did you go to? Because it is twice as much.
This is a good change. I really like this change. I think some people were like, oh, now the card is garbage, because now it's like a weaker Fiery War Axe, right? But you can't really compare class cards 1-to-1. You can use them as reference points, right? But there's like a reason that Warlock had a weaker version of Frostbolt, right? Because Warlock can, pull cards out of their butt whenever they want, right? And mages can't. But there's like a reason that Shaman should have to, like, Shaman's not as weapon based as Warrior. That's not really like their thing. That's not the thing that they're kind of based around, as being the weapon class, even though they do have weapons. So it's okay for them to have a slightly weaker weapon at, a similar mana cost, because it's just their other cards are very strong, and the other things they do are very strong. And Warrior, like, this is the thing we do that's very strong, right? So obviously weapons should be good. So it's not a 1-to-1 comparison. This is still a fine card. I think it's totally fine, and it may still see play in certain types of Shaman, but it's not going to be what makes Shaman disgustingly powerful. is that they play a weapon on one and pirates, and then all pirates are buffed, and all that stuff. So
And
this is fantastic.
I'm still totally picking this in arena.
Oh yeah, in arena for sure.
Yeah, which is
Definitely. Weapons are just good in arena.
Yeah.
Like, even if you play it, it just never gets to 3 attack. It's still 3 pings, right? So.
That was the big thing. I thought a lot of the cries of "oh, this is garbage now" was missing. I think that was the point they were missing. It's like, guys, arena is still a thing, and this is still very, very playable there. And also, this card, straight up, let's be honest, didn't need to be made. Like in the
Card was
first
OP
place.
in
It
its
didn't need to
original
be here.
incarnation. Yes.
And the fact now that it's not as good as it used to be, that's kind of the point, and I agree with it wholeheartedly.
Well, and I think that's kind of the point in both of these nerfs is that, now people are saying, oh my God, they're so much less powerful, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but before they were overpowered. So now they're being brought in line with everything else. So this doesn't make them bad cards. It makes them, I think both of these are still playable. So
I think they're
it just
slightly
makes
they're slightly below average now, which is fine because like Shaman has plenty of above average cards, right?
Yeah.
And then before they were way above average. They're just way.
Yeah, and that's the thing, like, because you used to be able to do either pair your Spirit Claws with a coin and pirates, or you just play Spirit Claws on 1, you roll your Spell Power Totem on 2, and then all of a sudden you're just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I feel like, there were so many ways to play Spirit Claws that didn't really require any sort of, thought.
Sure.
Do I have Spirit Claws? All right, then let's go.
Well,
And
also,
now it's
Spirit
like
Claws
you have to
being
make some
oozed.
choices.
Spirit Claws being oozed was like nothing. It didn't even slow you down. You're like, my 1 mana weapon's gone. Oh well.
Yeah.
But like now, like Spirit Claws, you're gonna have to think about like if I play this and it gets oozed, I just wasted like 2 mana. It's a lot of tempo and it's an important card. Spirit Claws was so good, it made Kobold Geomancer a good card again for a while, right? That's how disgustingly good this card is.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't happen, right? You shouldn't have a terrible card suddenly be like, oh, this card is amazing now because I can make my weapon into a 3/2.
Oh, let's backpedal that a hair, just a hair. I think
it
that's,
was for a second.
I think
it was
that's
an amazing card for a second.
I think that's really cool when a bad card all of a sudden becomes good, but maybe not in a class that's already really good and has a lot of really good options. But
Yeah.
it's like, let's pedal that back just a hair because that is
no,
cool.
No, you're right.
But-
It's nice when a card finds a spot.
Yeah.
After it didn't have a spot for a really long time. That is good. But what was happening there was like this card was disgusting, and then it made another card like they were like, we need to make this card even more disgusting. How do we do that? Here's this card. This now is like a great change because Shaman will either like decide that they're like the spell-based type of Spirit Claws, whatever, or I think we're going to see them kind of back off and go more mid-range Jade, which is still going to be very good, right? That's still going to be really good. I don't think Shaman's going anywhere. I look at these changes and I think Shaman is not going to be right now. If you look at TempestStorm.com, their meta snapshot has 2 Shaman in tier 1, 2 types of Shaman in tier 1. So I think now we're going to see only 1 type of Shaman in tier 1, and that's where it should be. Like you shouldn't be so good that you could just kind of go, well, it's Shaman, and then I just put in whatever cards and it's a good deck. You should have to like think about it and have a good archetype, and it should be difficult to find a deck that's top tier, right? So
Right. That being
this
said,
is gonna be good.
I agree almost, but I agree even more. I agree beyond the point you made. I think Aggro Shaman will still be perfectly fine.
Sure.
Pirates are about to take a hit with the small-time Buccaneer change that we're talking about. But no, I think Shaman absolutely, 100%, still going to be an absolutely extremely strong class. What is going to happen to Shaman? The big upset with Shaman is going to be coming with the next standard rotation because they're going to be losing so much of what has made them the powerhouse that they are for the past, over a year now.
Well, see, Shaman are going to start reverting back to Tunnel Trog Totem Golem, which has been completely taken out because of the pirate package, right? But now they're going to have to go back to that, but they're only going to have that for another, month or 2 months.
Exactly.
Right? So
exactly.
And they're going to have to go back to the drawing board when that happens.
Yeah, that's still really strong.
Yeah. It's like, oh no, I have to go back to a 1/3 that turns into a 2/3 when I play my 3/4 on 2. It's a shame because I really like playing a 3/2, a 1/1 with charge, and a 1/3 weapon on turn 1. That was really fun.
Yeah,
Oh, well.
what a shame. What a shame.
Gee,
Speaking
when
of,
you say it like that, man, oh man, it sounds so
Well, I mean, we used to
ridiculous. Like, how
complain-
did they ever let this happen?
We complained about turn 3, a 1/4 weapon and 3 1/1s. None of them had charge, and this happened on turn 3. And we used to be like, oh my god, that card is ridiculous. And now, like Warriors play a 1/3 weapon, a 3/2, a 1/1, and another 1/1 with charge, all on turn 1. That's their turn 1.
Yep.
It's stupid.
A little much.
The game has gotten so fast that like Muster for Battle won't even see play if that was the card still.
I miss Paladin. And don't talk to me about Murloc Paladin. Just get out. Get
I know.
Just get out.
I'm on a roll with golden classes, and I got 5 now. I had Rogue and Mage last week, and I'm trying to get Shaman's really close. And then I was looking at what's left. I'm like, oh, it's Paladin. Damn, it's like 465 or something like that. I'm like,
That's when you just switch to Wild and you play Secrets again.
I guess I'm playing
but
Secret
even
Paladin.
there, the pirates, they screw you there too. So we'll see though. Let's talk about the next change, because that might make my Paladin days a little bit easier.
All right, okay. Hey, Dills, you wanna go into Wild? You ever thought to yourself, man, I wish I could go into Wild and kill Small Time Buccaneer with the weapon off of Muster for Battle? That'd be
sweet.
That'd be great. That'd be really cool. Well, now you can. Small Time Buccaneer is going down to 1 health, so it's getting cut in half.
Perfect.
Going down from 2 to 1. Boy, I'm so glad that my Shaman deck just got even better.
Yeah, this is the right change. Like I think we talked about this being a potential change on the show, right?
Yeah. I think this and then making it Rogue only were the two that we batted around.
Rogue only, and then I'd made the suggestion that you could possibly just make it get 1 attack or something like that. With the weapon
yeah.
or
So
something.
it was a 2/2 instead of a 3/2.
Yeah, there's like lots of different ways to, I think, go at this. This one is perfectly acceptable, I think, because obviously it's, there's ping classes that will just oppress this. It's still going to be, I think you're still going to see Pirate Warrior play this card, because Pirate Warrior could still have such an explosive start, and all they're trying to do is rush your face down, right? And while Shaman also tries to rush your face down, they have more of a mid-range plan most of the time, and it's still like playing minions that actually stick. And Warrior's like, oh, well, if I play this and hit your face with patches, and then I play my weapon on turn 2, I'm still doing a bunch of damage. It's fine. I think they're going to be in an okay place. They're just going to get pulled back a little bit, which is good, because right now they're insane. It's like I played last night on the ladder like 20 games. I think 10 of them were against Pirate Aggro Warrior, and it was just it's just stupid, right? So this is good because it'll make that class easier to deal with, that archetype easier to deal with, but it'll still be fine. And then a lot of other classes that were just weirdly playing pirates just because they had to, now we'll switch to something else, right? Mm-hmm. The homogenization of aggro will go away. So like you won't see aggro pirate rogue and aggro pirate shaman. You'll see aggro pirate warrior, and then the other guys will play something else. And I think that's good. That's where it should be, right?
I'm concerned about rogue. Should I be?
No, I don't think so. I think because the other classes will slow down a touch, I think rogue will be just fine. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a problem for Miracle Rogue, but because when things slow down and people start playing Jades and stuff, Rogue will punish those decks, right? Because it just burst them out and play. You'll like have time to do your thing. So once the other aggro decks slow down a little bit, Rogue doesn't have to keep up. So I think Rogue is going to be fine.
All right.
I think I'm going to try at least keeping it in my Rogue deck. I mean, Swashbuckler is a 1/1, and that one's fine. And I feel like because you have coming out. Well, you have patches coming out, and then you also have a guaranteed weapon on turn 2, right? So I don't see why.
You might just go, rather than Small Time Buccaneer, you might just go for the 2/1 Charger, right? Instead, just to get the pirates or the patches out early and stuff.
Yeah, I think I have all 3. I think I have Small Time Buccaneer, South Sea Deckhand, and Swashbuckler in the Rogue deck I was playing.
Is that Miracle though, or is that like aggro?
I can't remember. I've been playing. I have been playing. Yeah, because I know I have all 3, and I'm pretty sure it was in the Miracle deck. I think they're all 3 are in the aggro deck too.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyways, I'm having an all Rogue month this month. I'm not playing anything except for Rogue this month. So
okay.
I'm learning things, and I'm 1/10 of the way to my Golden Rogue now. So yay!
And Jocelyn
most of the Rogue decks, the Miracle Rogue decks, run 4 pirates and then patches. Yeah. But like I said, Garrett, I think the Miracle Rogue deck will be fine just because the rest of the meta will slow down a touch, right? And the reason you had to keep up was because of how fast everything else was. So if you can get to turn 4, 5, and 6 as a rogue, you're in great shape, right? Because that's suddenly when you start playing Tomb Pillager into Azure Drake into Gadget Stand Auctioneer, go crazy. So that's really the key for the rogue.
Cool.
I do
You've
think though, like
calmed me.
Shaman will just switch back to Tunnel Trog, Totem Golem, right? And if aggro Pirate Warrior still sticks around as a thing, now you can Maelstrom portal all their pirates on too. That was like a really big problem when you would go up against them, because you would have this AoE. You're like, it doesn't even do anything. Like I AoE and the small time Buccaneer still smashing my face in. So yeah. And then of course, I think now we're gonna start to see all those other decks, because this will slow down Shaman a little bit and Rogue a little bit. Warrior will still be a thing, but easier to deal with. We're gonna finally start to see Jades kind of come out of their shell a little bit, and then maybe some other experimentation might happen as well. So this is just all around great, I think. There's like nothing negative to say about this.
And
game.
I'm glad that they're not waiting until the next standard rotation to do it. Like we're seeing the ladder changes, Spirit Claws, and small time Buccaneer nerfs. They're all happening sometime near the end of February. I would say probably they're waiting till the prelims are over, just so they don't...
there's 2 weeks of prelims left. So
yeah. So I think it'll probably be the Tuesday after prelims are done.
A good point worth bringing up, though, is that Benbro did say they weren't going to announce these until they were very close to releasing the patch. So it could be a little sooner than I think we're all expecting.
Possibly.
Yeah.
By the way, if you go to the Reddit thread, the first comment, Kibler, excellent changes. Second comment, if only these were to happen a month ago instead of 1 to 2 weeks from now. It's like, guys, God, just stop it. Like, look, you get what you want, and then you still bitch and moan. This is good. These are great. Let's not, stop. Like, let's not throw negativity into a good change, right? And I think the timing has more to do with making sure that the changes they make are the right ones. They don't go too far on things, because we saw like Warsaw Commander, that we don't want stuff like that again, right?
Yeah.
This is great. These are the incremental small changes that go really well, where the card doesn't die. It's still viable somehow. It's just weaker than before. And most of the time it dies because people just remember it being this other thing. And so now it's like not that. And so they just think it's bad forever. But remember, like Gadget Zan went away for a long time and then made its way back. So these cards could definitely find their way back at some point, or still stick around. But they're just easier to deal with. They're not oppressive anymore. It's great.
That being said, I don't disagree with that comment on Reddit. I
Sure.
think there is a discussion that could be had about timing. I love these changes. They're great. Let's maybe have a few more of them a little more often.
Oh, I don't disagree with the fact that they should make changes more often. We talked about that. Every couple months or so, be like revisiting things and tweaking things, and that refreshes the meta without having to release new cards, right? So that I would love too. But I don't like we could bitch at Blizzard when nothing's happening, but when something's happening, it's like time to stop. It's time to embrace that they're doing good things. And also timing has a lot to do in this game with the fact that you have to roll it out on multiple platforms, like Jocelyn brought up. There's prelims going on. To suddenly change a card in the middle of that would throw things for a tailspin, right? Like we already had the Europe one, and then America, like all of a sudden pirates are no longer viable. And all that practice that the American players did is just worth nothing because they got to start from scratch. So,
yeah.
Oh, hey man, yeah, you got to respect our Hearthstone. They're really getting the heavy hidden like gems of the Hearthstone community in your face, like the 5 crypt posts that are currently at the top. Nobody watches crypt. Nobody's ever. I don't know who this guy is.
Yeah, it's one of the worst uses of Reddit when someone just like posts something that someone tweeted, and you're like, if I wanted to see what that guy tweeted, I would follow him on Twitter. It's fine. I don't need you to repost his tweet.
Yeah. So that's fun. That's fun. Well, shall we move into a less fun topic?
I think we should.
All right. Cool.
Yeah, all right.
Now that we got all that goodwill,
now.
got all that goodwill out of our system, let's talk about HCT this past weekend. Because, ooh boy, I felt like I was watching the first ever esports stream at the dawn of Twitch.tv.
Yeah.
This was rough in like every way imaginable. So they had subpar production, which the 3 of us were in our Slack yesterday, just kind of ripping on it pretty hard, actually.
Let's start with the good, though.
Yeah.
Let's start with the good. They switched the Swiss format, which I really like.
Yeah.
Because it's a better way to determine the best player than this like weird double elimination, go to the losers bracket, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I lose twice, I'm out. I got 2 bad matchups, I'm out, whatever. Like, this is a better format.
But then it went Swiss, into single elimination, right? Because then you had
but that's
people...
generally how it works. Like
Yeah,
Swiss
but I
gets
kind
you
of
to
wish...
the top 16 or top 8, and then you have a tournament at that point.
Yeah, I kind of wish they took like a top 8 and then had a double elimination, because I know I can't remember the player now, and I'm really, really sorry for that, guys. But there was someone who went either 7-0 or 7-1 and then lost in the first round the next day. And it's like, after playing that well in a Swiss format to then go out in your first match and then the next day, it just... Oh, that's got to be so disappointing. And it's disappointing, too, as fans who are watching, if the production had been, or maybe not better, but if the production team had made different choices about what matches to show, then you would have been potentially seeing, the 6-0 versus 6-0 and, the 7-1s versus 7-1 matches.
6-0 can't play 6-0. That's the same.
No, the 6-0 versus the other 6-0 player.
One of them might just happen to be 6-0. That would be a delightful little coincidence. And now we go to our 6-0 players, one of which is actually 6-0.
But you know what I mean? Like
I think you're right. But I also think this was the issue with Swiss, is that there's a lot going on, right? And so you basically have to pick these feature matches. But what they were trying to do was jump around between a bunch of different things to try to cover it all. And what you should really do is just not jump to anything if you're not going to finish it, first of all. Because going halfway through a Reno Mage mirror match and then suddenly cutting away from that when you Kazakhstas have been played and you're invested in the game, cutting away from that is the worst idea ever.
Yeah.
But then also not just the 6-0 matches. I think it is valuable to watch two guys who are 4-1, where if you lose this, you're probably out of the tournament. Those are really interesting matches too, because there's a lot more kind of riding on that. The people who are 6-0, they're probably the best players at the time, or they have the best lineups or whatever. But there's not really a lot riding on the 6-0 guy versus the 6-0 guy. So I think even there's rather than just have these matches that they just picked as featured kind of out of the ether, which is, it seemed how it was working, they should really be as the rounds progress, figuring out where the stories are. But instead, they had a package already made for Dr. Hippie, so they're well, we gotta show Dr. Hippie games, right?
Well, I think the post that I saw from someone who worked on the production team is that they chose Tice and Dr. Hippie for their featured matches, basically because the two of them were riding the bubble all day. So it just kind of worked out that, like you said, Dills, they thought that those would be the most interesting matches, because it's every match with one of those two players is going to be an elimination match. So they thought, this is good. We should be featuring these guys. It'll kind of build up the anticipation. Will they make it through? Will they not? Not to mention, both those names are pretty well-known names. So they made those choices for the featured matches. Whereas I personally would probably have rather seen somebody who is, hasn't lost yet, be oh my God, can they keep their streak going? This is amazing. They've won 7 in a row. This is, incredible. That would be exciting to me. But I think that the elimination matches are probably a little bit more exciting for people who are not as invested in the actual really technical nitty-gritty gameplay. So for more of a casual viewer, the elimination part is the exciting part, as opposed to the super high-level play.
Yeah, I mean, that's the balancing act. I think that is probably one of the biggest issues with this, right? I mean, I don't know. We don't bring it up all the time, but a really important aspect of esports as a spectator sport is the storyline, and it's hard to tell a storyline with Swiss because of it is everything's happening at the same time feature. However, it's what we've all been asking for, right? It's a superior way to decide who the best players are in a game like this. Although that being said, with Jocelyn, an even more superior way would be, once you get to the top 8, make it double elimination.
Yeah.
Well, they had a top. Did they have a top 16, or was it only a top 8? I can't remember now.
I didn't watch day 2, so I'm not 100% sure.
But I definitely think it should be top 8 with double elimination. That's always, I think, how it should work anyway, because it is stupid to have a fantastic you could go 8-0 and then suddenly one match and I'm out. That sucks. By the way, I'm going to call a little bit bullshit on we were riding, we were watching them because they were facing elimination. They literally had pre-packaged Dr. Hippie spots, a whole storyline of him queued up and ready to go. They had picked Dr. Hippie to be in featured matches before the tournament even started, right? They had they visited his house and had interviews with him and stuff. And someone
they had interviews with Tice as well, and
Yeah,
Yeah,
there was more to it than just this is what
He's
they're
riding the bubble.
like, they were forcing it on those guys for sure, which I think it makes sense because you do want to have stuff you can cut away to. So I get that, but when you're covering like a live event that anything could happen, I think you should just let it happen more, right? Like forcing it just tends to not work in your favor. You know, it's not. We're not doing a basketball game where we know that it's these two teams facing each other. Like it's a bunch of people, 100-something people, and we got to let the stories happen, right? And then cover them as they're progressing. So I know it's difficult, and I don't want to like act like they had nothing on their plate here, because it's obviously hard to put together an event from multiple locations.
It was 25 different locations.
Yeah, and make it feel cohesive, right? It's a lot. It's definitely a lot. That being said, some bad choices were made, and then some embarrassing moments occurred. They went live to a moment where someone was playing an OBS tutorial video, and the audio from that was feeding directly into the live broadcast. And we talked about this a little bit in our Slack channel, where it doesn't necessarily mean that like the guy broadcasting on the PC that was broadcasting to Twitch was watching it. But it means that somebody on a PC that was hooked into the network that was going to that final destination was sending live audio and watching an OBS tutorial.
Yeah.
At least,
oh man, that's just embarrassing.
At least it was that, not something a lot more unscrupulous.
Yeah, it could have been way worse than a tutorial video.
That's true. Yeah, no, that's a good point.
But yeah, it's just embarrassing, right? Like on a weekend where there's already so many issues, when that pops up, I mean, all you can do is point and laugh. Like, they don't even know how to use their broadcasting software. Oh my God, la 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 la, Reddit karma.
The thing is, I've been on the other side of production, right, where there's a lot of things going on. That being said, like that's why you have to find experienced people who know how to manage that, right? Because if somebody needed to look up a tutorial for OBS, there should be somebody who's not involved in the production to like pull up an iPad or something and go watch it and figure out the answer to whatever question it was that they needed answering, right? It should not happen on any of the computers that are sending anything to the final broadcast. So yeah, it was just kind of one of those, oh wow, like this really just this is like the nail in the coffin that this was just a poorly produced event. But whatever. Like I said, there's been huge mistakes made before on like nationally broadcasted sports games. Mm-hmm. It's not like this stuff never happens. And it's just as esports fans, we want it to get better and better, right? And ESL is knocking it out of the park right now with their production value. So it can be done, and I want it to be done.
Did either of you watch the Grammys this weekend? Because it happens in high-budget award ceremonies on major networks as well.
I mean, live stuff is hard, man.
Live stuff is hard anyway.
We know. Yeah, we know. I mean, when we were doing the TAC tournament, the taco last time, we had like a whole like first 5 turns or something where like, we're just looking at me and Jocelyn's face instead of the game. I mean, this stuff happens. You get and
forget to push the button and now you can see the cards.
Trying to do 10 different things at once and something falls through the cracks. I understand.
Yeah. How many times have I tried to swap over to a deck list and it's like, I didn't pull your guys' webcam into this thing because Skype didn't save my setup because it's dumb. All right, let me do it live. You're absolutely right. It does happen. I would argue that we were able to rectify it quicker than a lot of what I was seeing this weekend, but nonetheless, I don't know. It's weird. I mean, there were so many. There was like when things happen live, like that's you can't prepare for those things. Things go wrong. Sure. I think that the big highlights of what went wrong this weekend were things that could have been addressed through proper planning, like why in God's name they tried to squeeze so many rounds of Swiss into the same day, so much so that certain venues just closed and kicked their players out. Like Orange got kicked out of his venue. Luckily, whoever was running the venue taxied his butt over to an internet cafe so he could keep playing. But what an oversight. Like, how do you not account for time?
I think the thing that happened to Orange, though, that was the day before, wasn't it? Because there was the Tavern Heroes tournament was wrapping up, and then the people who I I can't remember how many, 24 tavern heroes or something like that were then included in the prelims. So I think that was the bigger problem, is that this tavern hero with prelim qualification spots was taking place on that day instead of like the weekend before or something, which I do not know how that happened or why that happened. But I think that's where Orange was competing, because he was saying like all day, oh, yeah, still doing well, you know, really close to qualifying for prelims tomorrow, blah, 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 blah. And then all of a sudden all the venues closed. And it was like, how is anyone going to do anything here? Because there's these qualifying spots up for grabs. So I think it was more the scheduling of the Tavern Hero tournament that was the problem.
It was just everything. It was just too many things, and clearly not enough organization around it all. Because there was a lot of other stuff too, where people were, you know, the other thing that happened to Orange is his opponent disconnected twice in a match, and they had to do some regames, and we saw some regames happening on the stream where they couldn't. I mean, we saw like the never-ending Jade Druid versus Reno Mage game. It just kept, every time they cut back, it's like, no, this is. Wait, did they already play this match? Oh,
well, that's
no,
what I thought
they regamed
too. I was
it.
like,
okay.
Yeah, I think I stepped away to go make food or something, and then I was like, hang on. I came back, I was like, I've already seen this. That like It was pretty much a win. Like, what's going on? And
but then like the guy that Orange was playing, apparently where he was playing had a bad enough connection that he couldn't reliably like play his match. And so, you know, that kind of stuff also should never happen. Wherever the matches are being played, that should be like priority number one, is how good the internet is there, right?
Yeah.
You're playing your game over the internet, it needs to friggin' work. So it was just like a collection of things all come together to create an environment of chaos around this tournament that's very important to a lot of people, and people spend hours and hours preparing for. This is like basically their job, to prepare for this tournament, and then suddenly like all hell breaks loose the day of the tournament, and you know, it sucks. It turns people off from trying to pursue, you know, pro esports, especially with Hearthstone anyway, because it's like, oh, I could do all this work and then it's a mess, and then I don't get there because of that. So hopefully this was a big learning experience, and things will smooth out. We got 2 more weekends of this, so yeah. Let's just. I mean, look, I got fingers crossed. I'm gonna pat Blizzard on the butt and say, go get them. Let's get them next weekend. All right. But yeah.
Yeah,
not their finest hour.
The Florida Fireside that I help admin myself, is we will be one of these venues this weekend. We have been one in the past.
Knee deep in this.
Yeah, and actually, and that's probably the part that I'm the surprised about, is that there were venues that didn't account for how long the day possibly could go, and that there were venues that didn't have a connection that could actually handle the players. I'm not saying it's easy. It's actually really flipping hard to find a venue that can handle a certain amount of players at a certain speed. We're lucky enough to have a tech hub that we can go and host ours in. But I am just surprised, because in my experience, it's like there's a heavy vetting procedure with Blizzard's esports team. I'm not the head honcho of the Florida Fireside. That's Amy's, but she's always like, I remember the very first time we were a venue for one of these Tavern Heroes, and then into the actual HCT last year, she was in a ton of meetings beforehand to make sure that we were up to snuff to actually host this.
Well, and that was actually going to be my question to you, Garrett, because you have been kind of involved on the admin side of these firesides and these qualifications and stuff. Like, because there were, all of the disconnecting and people saying that, they were cheating and they had to win 4 times because the other guy disconnected 3 times magically when he was losing, and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, like, how much vetting actually goes into, checking out a venue and checking out admins? Because, I mean, stuff like this, I would think if I am an officially vetted Blizzard admin, then like cheating at my venue shouldn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I can't speak to that, because we didn't have any experiences like that. The people that the players that came to our location that were assigned the Orlando location for I don't know, I'm assuming it was probably the southeast or section of the U.S. They were honorable. No one we didn't really have any problems. And when we did, we did have a direct line to the Blizzard's esports teams and the other admins, and it was handled very professionally. So I don't know. I'm very surprised. I mean, it sounds to me, and again, I have no way of knowing this. I don't have inner working knowledge, but it sounds to me like it's scaled up. rather drastically. If there were 25 locations, I mean that's a lot. That's a lot to keep tabs on.
I think that's
no
what
matter who
happened
you
here. Is
are.
they had to add a bunch of stuff, and
Yeah.
so it wasn't all the people that because like Amy's been working with them for a while now, right? So she's like gone to Blizzard and met with people and all this stuff. Like I talked to her a long time when we were in Orlando for CreateCon about what she's done with Blizzard, and it sounds like it's essentially like a relationship that's ongoing all the time, right? She's constantly in contact with people. But this just highlights that wouldn't it be great if all the players who qualified for this tournament could just log into the game from wherever they know they have a stable connection, and
we could call
the client itself runs the tournament for you.
What could we call this mode?
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's weird. It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, it's
but,
a mode that
it's
handles
basically
tournaments.
The casters could just pick a game from a list that's in the client and say we want to cast this game, and then it just pops up and they're casting it, and it's a great looking UI and all that. Wouldn't that be fantastic?
It would be. It would.
I don't
be,
know what
Bills.
you'd call it though. It'd be
I don't
something.
either.
Well, and I think that's really the big sticking point is we don't have a name, so we can't even work on it
We
until
can't
we
do
get a
it.
name.
Got a
No,
name.
it can't be
Let's
done.
be
It can't be done.
Super awesome professional mode. That's what it should be called.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. So there we go. If
Zap 'em.
only.
Yeah, the tip of my tongue, man. Starts with the- I don't know.
It starts something. Yeah. Well, a
The
tip.
world will
well,
never know.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah. So there's that. Really, I think my parting thoughts on this is to Blizzard. Hey, please don't be discouraged. Please keep doing Swiss. Please keep trying to like something this big because to me that's what it comes down to. I think they tried something that was much larger on a larger scale that they've done in the past, and they ran into quite a few hangups. Don't stop because I do think Swiss is the way to go. So I look forward to them hopefully learning from the mistakes. I mean, day 2 I think was a notable improvement. So let's keep our fingers crossed for
Except
that.
for that OBS thing, which I think happened on day 2.
Yeah.
Oh,
But like that, like I said, they got 2 more weeks of this. If they learn their lessons, we'll know very soon. So
Yep.
learning
Well, and
experiences
they
are
also-
hard. But
And they did seem quite open. I saw a few of the production team members who were, actively on Twitter interacting with people
Yeah.
and asking them, what changes they'd like to see. And they were
clearly
obviously
somebody had a meeting and said,
Yeah.
everyone go out on Twitter and ask what we should be doing better.
they were very open to constructive criticism. And then even I had one of the guys follow up with me on, I guess it was yesterday, saying, did you get a chance to check day 2? Like, what did you think? And so, I mean, they were very involved with the community, which I think is important. So I'm hoping that we'll see some changes for the NA finals this weekend. And
Well, they added 2
or
casters, by the way, Songbird and Lothar.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so Cora.
Well, yeah, for the NA ones, yeah.
So
Cora.
that's good.
I
because
love Cora.
I think that was
She's
another
good.
one of the issues is that it was a lot of pressure on the casters with so much to cast and so much
Yeah.
going on, so much to keep track of, right?
And exactly, I think keeping track of the games is probably the biggest thing I noticed because I found as much as I love Kibler and Raven, I found that there were a lot of times where they weren't even talking about the games. They were just kind of joking back and forth, buddy. And I think it's because they had been just switching around so many times that they're just like, we have no idea what's been played. We have no
Sure.
idea what's going
We gotta
on.
keep
Like,
talking.
we
Like,
have to
we
keep
can't
talking,
stop talking.
exactly. And so I was just like, oh my God, guys, like this is terrible. What are you
Yeah.
doing? And they're normally such great casters. And I think it's because it was all the switching between matches that they just didn't really
Pressure,
know
right?
what to say. And so I think if they have a little bit, I'd rather just see them like once they pick a game, just stick with the game. And I think
Stick
that
with
would
it,
make,
yeah.
I think
I-
that would make the casting and the
It would,
the narrative easier to follow.
It would be a larger undertaking for like production wise, but I think they should stick with the game, like you said, and then grab highlights from other games simultaneously. And in the downtime between when the game you are covering ends and the next one that you pick up, show your highlights. I mean, yeah. Again, takes more
Which-
production, but
They did have some highlights at some points.
But the highlights were not. I don't know if you noticed this, but they were basically just like, here's the last game of the series or something like
Yes,
that.
yeah.
And then they like just cast it as if it was going on live almost. And then there's a few times they cut to a game right as it ended, right? Like they cut to a game where the guy literally was, bursting
Exploding.
down lethal. They're like, oh, well, I guess, all right. So you're right, Garrett. There should be a guy watching all the other games, somewhat, some or a few, just cutting highlights, putting together little packages,
And-
and then saying, okay, here's this game. this is the last few minutes or whatever, and then they can just kind of cast it live.
Well, and
then give them like notes on what happened, right?
Even if you don't want them
That's what
casting
they
it
do for live
live,
sports.
even if you don't want them casting it live, if you want it to be a little more, nicely cut, you just have one caster who's strictly for the offline highlight stuff. Maybe some of that person's work will never see the light of day. Maybe some of it will. It all depends on timing.
J-How doing the replays of right? They do that with Heroes. It's great.
Get Robert Wing in there. Let him, get his bearded face all up in a microphone.
Or like a Firebat analyzing plays, like it's like a top pro picking like cool plays that happen and being like, okay, I want to talk about this play here and why this was done or why this was good or bad. And then you just come in and it's almost like a little mini tutorial while you're killing time between games. There's so many ways you could go that would be better than what they did. Right.
Yeah, which that would also be really great for the audience that they're kind of aiming at least from a lot of the stuff I read this weekend. It seems like they are really going for, not necessarily the player who knows exactly what the right play is, but what they're going for is the more casual audience. So if that's what they're doing, little in between like highlights with pros that are little mini tutorials in between the game to say like, this is why this is a good play and this is a bad play and this is an objectively good card or a bad card or whatever, having that kind of tutorial analysis in between would be phenomenally great.
I like Hachikumo in chat. Or get Amnesiac to speak his mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on that, but
what is it to say? Dude's 16 and he acted like he was 16. Congrats. I unfollowed you on Twitter. You're annoying. I'm 30, I'm cranky, and I'm old.
This one too. Look, it was a big learning experience this weekend for everybody.
See, and this is the other thing too, and I mean, we don't have to talk about it too much, but I do think that this is a little bit of almost what Hearthstone is missing, is that there isn't really the same sort of rivalries that you get in traditional sports.
Oh yeah,
like,
we don't have Tempo Storm and Archon
Toronto
anymore.
Maple Leafs, yeah. So like, when Toronto plays certain other teams like Montreal, I'm just like, grr, Montreal, die. And you don't have those kind of like big rivalries, at least right now in Hearthstone esports. So as much as Amnesiac's Twitter rant was a little bit much, I think just seeing him as almost like the villain and Pavel as like
he's the heel. I mean, I'm a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
You gotta have a good guy and a bad guy if you want to care about the match, right? So
yeah,
but
is,
as much as it's kind of silly and immature, it's actually, I think, good for just Hearthstone esports in general to create these rivalries and heroes and villains, and it creates a little bit of a dialogue outside of just these guys are all awesome players and really nice guys, and we hope everyone wins. Participation trophies, huzzah!
I'm not disagreeing with that either. But Dills, I'd like to journey just a little bit deeper down your WWE comparison. I agree with you entirely. However, what if the heel came out and started talking like he was an angry 15-year-old? Like
that's a character. There's many characters like that in WWE.
All right, fair enough.
In fact,
well, and even then,
we just had a pay-per-view where the guy lost in a 2-on-1 handicap match and threw a tantrum and tried to hurt the other guy with a steel chair, which is basically what Amnesiac did.
I would have been really into everything Amnesiac said if he followed it up with a steel chair, but he didn't.
You should have just used a tiny little steel chair remote or something like that.
Actually, yeah.
But I mean, look, it's fine. I mean, we used to have, like, a lot of people thought like Chalky was the bad guy, right? Because he BM'd somebody forever ago.
Yeah.
At Fight Night. And and we had E-Cop, who was like the bad guy, right? But these guys, like, Chalky's become a good guy now because now he had a face turn because he was really good at casting and stuff, and then everybody rooted for him to win at DreamHack, and he did. And so now, like, who's our villain now? We got him.
I still
cocky
follow
young upstart, right?
Did you all stop following Chalky on Twitter? He's definitely still a heel, guys. He's still a heel.
Yeah, that's true. He's the meme heel. Yeah.
He's the king of the meme.
Look, I agree with you, Jocelyn. I think Frodan says it a lot too, that the rivalries are good for the scene itself.
Yeah.
And if Amnesiac is willing to embrace his role as the villain here, this could make if we finally get some Pavel Amnesiac rematches, that everyone's going to tune in for that. So that could be cool. I don't know. It's fine.
And the things that he said, I mean, he wasn't even all that bad. I mean, it wasn't it's not like he came out and was just like, F that guy and he's so effing terrible and blah, 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 blah. It was like, okay, he did this thing and that was bad.
He highlighted
I can't believe,
mistakes,
like, he highlighted mistakes and plays and things that he thought were ridiculous, and just was upset with the fact that Pavel did as well as he did, because he actually he won prelims, right? So yeah.
Yes, he did. Yes.
So Amnesiac was
Pavel.
just, yeah, that's kind of what he was upset about. So at least, even though like it was a negative rant towards another good pro player, it was still at least backed up in facts and not just like spewing hate speech for no reason sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like his rant could have been even more immature, and it could have been so much worse. So
it seemed like he was just frustrated because
he was just frustrated.
He got beat by him at BlizzCon because of some ridiculous RNG. We all saw it. I mean, you have to admit he was supposed to win the game that would have clinched it, and then he didn't because of the Paveling book, right? Which is a big meme now. But he was classy then. He actually tweeted then, everyone should just respect the hard work Pavel put in. Yeah. Whatever I lost. He did take the high road at that moment. I think what was happening here is now he's watching Pavel and he's watching what he believes are mistakes. Mm-hmm. And those are debatable whether they are or not. Everyone's probably I'm sure Pavel has legitimate reasons for whatever all his plays. But he was just getting frustrated that like he's doing it again. Like he can't keep getting away with it. I think that was the kind of the emotion that that he was expressing. But he probably should have kept it to himself. But now that he did it,
we have a villain and we have a match to look forward
to. Exactly. Well, and it's I'm getting my popcorn out if that match ever happens, man. I'm hoping it does.
I agree with all the points you all said. I just don't need that to be the only thing I see on my Twitter.
Doesn't need to be in your Twitter feed, sure.
Yeah, that's really, for me, that's what it comes down to. It's like, all right, I've done this. Not for this many tweets in a row, but I've done this. Moving on. So very cool, I guess. I'm with Dills. I'll make the popcorn. I'll make an extra big bag. We can sit down and I'll eat popcorn off your lap. It'll be lovely.
What?
It's Valentine's Day.
Hey-o.
It's fine. It's all good. It's all good.
Was it Bro-Times Day?
Yeah.
Broentine's Day.
Broentine's Day was what Jocelyn referred to it as off stream. So, all right. Well, let's get into the strategy and talk about Aggro Pirate Rogue while we still can.
Hit it very hard.
Wanna blow something up? Time to pay!
And strategy is brought to you this week by our sponsor, Harrys.com, where you can actually go to Harrys.com/TAC. It's different now. We have a custom URL, so make sure you use that. They are the makers of quite affordable, high-quality razor blades to shave your face, or as Dills and I have mentioned many times in the past, your shoulders with, if you so choose. I am a fan of the neck, beard, and shoulder shaving, so that's what I personally use my hairy razors for. But they really are they're great. They're affordable. You can sign up for a subscription. You can get it a la carte. There are many different options over at Harrys.com. However, they are so darn confident, guys. They're so confident in the quality of their blades. They want you to go and try out their trial set for free. You just pay shipping. Go to Harrys.com/TAC to redeem your free trial offer right now. Dills, I know it's strategy, but you hinted at something off stream earlier.
Oh yeah, so I've taken the shoulder shaving to the next level, the next logical step, really, because I'm a man who likes to progress in life, and I want to keep pushing the boundaries. So I decided to try shaving the back of my arms, which the older I get, the more hair tends to grow in places it didn't used to, and it was nice. I gotta say, I quite enjoyed it.
All right, I'm sure somebody out there's like, damn it, they're still doing the sponsor read. But I've got to ask. I'm literally asking you for your arm shaving strategy. If you're shaving the back, if you're like me, you also have forearm hair that extends around. Where do you stop? Do you just have like a harsh line where there's no hair and then the hair begins?
No, like right about the top or like the middle of my bicep or so. Like it kind of it thickens, right? So I just shave up till there, and it's fine. It looks great, yeah.
And
Listen,
it's not bothered by the edge of your t-shirt, because I think that'd be my problem. Is it start growing in? I'd be like, ugh, annoying.
Well, it's soft back there though, so it grew in and didn't really. It never got stubbly and weird. What's that?
Is that because of your
because
post-shave
I
balm?
use the aftershave balm on the
Yeah.
exactly. The Harry's.com balm, man. That stuff is good. Let me tell you.
Oh, that's well.
You know,
that's-
I might one day. I might just go swimmer style, dude.
Yeah, you think so?
Only-
whole body. Let's do it. Let's go, Harry's.
as long as you keep pants on for this, please stream that. That would be a lovely streaming event where Dills shaves
You know, look,
everything.
Twitch allows IRL content. I'm not sure they'd be cool with a stream of me shaving my body.
I think you should try it.
I think it'd be fine.
just to see what happens.
All right,
be fine.
I'll
Just
try it. Sure.
Where,
See
make,
how
sure,
many times you get reported.
make sure you're covered up. Make sure you're covered up. Maybe you tie this into that bathtub stream we were talking about a month ago.
Ooh.
You know, there you go.
With the
I'm
bubbles
gonna go
in the
full
line.
Ryan
Yeah.
Lochte.
Strategically play. Don't go full Ryan Lochte. Don't go
Tie
full
my hair
Ryan Lochte.
blonde. I'm gonna start tagging in bathrooms in Brazil. It's gonna be great, dude. I'm telling you.
All right. Well, let's talk about Aggro Pirate Rogue. I have no clever way of segueing into it.
Speaking of aggressively doing things,
There you go. Dills is doing it all right. All right. Yeah. Let's talk about this. So, we saw this in the prelims this past weekend. Everything else is pretty by the book. A lot of hope you like Reno Mage. There was a lot of Reno Mage to be seen. But Aggro Pirate Rogue came and surprised me at the very least. I've personally, this is not my overall jam. I found myself. I did okay with this deck, by the way. I played it over the weekend, but I did find myself struggling in the same way I tend to struggle with other aggro decks, which is kind of running out of gas. Like you can just you can draw poorly, and you don't really have actual draw until you're at 5 mana with Azure Drake. So you can get super awkward hands with this deck. But at the same time, too, you can get god draws and completely smite your foe.
yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, this is always kind of the tightrope walking act of aggro that a lot of people don't recognize. And I think we're in a situation now where aggro pirate warrior doesn't walk the tightrope in the same way that a lot of other decks do, but they do because they actually have these cards that just chunk out huge amounts of damage, and Rogue doesn't quite have that same thing going on here. But you do have, with like Cold Blood and some Chargers, you have a lot of burst potential out of hand, right? So you can find lethals in a lot of situations because you just have you have the ability to turn an empty board into a bunch of damage as long as you've done some of the early work, right? So there's a lot of like draws to outs with this deck. One of the reasons, like, to combat what you said, Garrett, and I know you talked about how you don't own Shaku, so we talked about a replacement being like a second Buccaneer. Shaku is kind of one of the cards that tries to handle that issue, right? The Swashbuckler and the Shaku give you a little more gas in the tank in most cases. So that's one of the reasons why this card is in there. Also, it's a card that should live to allow you to have a Cold Blood target, right?
You mean Swashbuckler gives you gas like Shatter, like in the finals of the prelims?
Yeah, it totally gives you a sweet Shatter. But I mean, no, the Swashbuckler, like, it plays a 1/1, puts another 1/1 with charge in play, and gives you a card. And most of the time, a card is better than not a card, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, it's generally going to be good. You're going to brick out sometimes, for sure. But against like a Reno Mage, I mean, you could also get like Pyroblast or Fireball or Frostbolt, and those cards will go a long
Astral
way.
Communion, so.
Ooh, like I'm immediately doing that. But this deck is not going to stick around in this form once the nerf to small-time Buccaneer happens. However, I don't think that this deck with a small-time Buccaneer nerf would completely go away because it still does have that burst potential, and the Pirate Synergy is really helpful with the South Sea. Like, this version is a little more mid-range than the previous aggro rogues we've seen. A lot of the previous aggro rogues were not running Tomb Pillager. They were not running Azure Drake because those cards don't immediately do damage, right? This one actually does have the potential to play a value game if it comes to that, right? You can actually find yourself in situations where you realize that the aggro method didn't work, or maybe the guy played Reno and he's back at full health, so now we have to refocus and figure out a new way to win, which is play the value game. So you can actually play Azure Drake's, Tomb Pillagers, South Sea Captains, stuff like that. So it's a deck that can pivot while being really aggressive, which I think is pretty cool. And the reason why we saw it in the prelims is like there's a couple of main strategies that were used, and one of them was to like target Reno, right? Like try to beat Reno decks because a lot of people are going to bring them. Because all you really have to do is make sure one of their decks can't win, and then you'll win the series, right? And then the other was to target Rogue because a lot of people were going to bring Rogue. So that's what you saw here where people were playing the Tempo Mage, Aggro Rogue, Aggro Shaman, and Aggro Warrior, right? And that's what we saw here. This was in Green Sheep's lineup. And he was basically like, if you play Miracle Rogue, you will not get a win with that deck against me. So it's just like the third aggro deck you can bring that is Pirates, because we've talked in the past on the show, because of Pirates right now, it's homogenized the aggro. Like you might end up back in the day have brought like Zoo or something, right, to try to out pressure the Rogue, but it's just not good enough anymore. So it's like your third aggro deck. If you're playing in a tournament and that's the lineup you want to try for, this is probably a really good option.
I've had a lot of luck with it on ladder too. I think I had a 64% win rate, which was
nice.
Was pretty solid. Yeah, especially for me. I mean, there aren't as many I guess kind of like tricky combo-y roguey things in this deck as opposed to like Miracle. Miracle is definitely a lot harder to pilot, but this, if you're looking to find an easier to pilot rogue deck that's still viable, then this one absolutely works.
Yeah, I used a aggro Burgle Pirates deck in Wild to achieve my Golden Rogue last week, and it's funny because it's got like essentially this same kind of package of all of these aggro cards, and then I just threw in like Burgles and Ethereal Peddlers and stuff like that. But it's funny, like this stuff is so good that I could throw in some meme cards just to have fun, so I didn't want to kill myself trying to spam games.
What did you take out to put in the meme cards?
I took out things like there's no Azure Drakes, there's Ethereal Peddlers instead and stuff like that. It was basically like most of the pirate pack. I don't think I had Argent Horse Riders. I think it was mostly just the pirates, and then Burgle, because Swashbuckler already does it, and then it was the Undercity Huckster, and the whatchamacallit, the Ethereal Peddler. So that's a super fun deck, by the way, because in Wild too you get to play ships cannons.
Yes.
And you get to do all the the smorking with the ship's cannons with the pirates. So
ship's cannon is like my jam, dude. That's why I go to Wild, is that one card.
It's sweet. It makes pirate decks like on a whole new level. But it's so I mean like but I'm just saying like this little package here of all the pirates and all that kind of early game aggressive stuff and the Cold Bloods and the Leroy, you can wrap bad cards, like you can like put them into that package. And it still kind of works because of how good those cards are. So I encourage everybody, if you're looking for something that if you want to like have a party with pirates before they go away, this is a great deck to try out. So go for it.
Parting question, what awesome pun name did you name this deck?
Oh, I don't got a pun name for it. It's just Aggro Pirates, right?
Oh, because
I named it Zip because it was so fast.
I named mine. Get ready for it. It's going to blow your mind. Okay. I named mine Argro.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well done, sir.
Yeah. I was proud of myself. And enjoy it, Jocelyn. Let that one land. All right. Well, let's wrap this show up with some emails.
Hello.
Hello, it's me.
Hello.
Just quickly, do you get my message?
Yep.
Oh.
Hello, brother.
Emails this week are brought to you by our patrons over at patreon.com/TAC, where we are really close to our next goal. Like really close. So
like $20, I think.
I think so. I think we got a patron during this very here broadcast, so I think we're even closer. So hey, if you want more triple-headed chicken streams, go on over to patreon.com/TAC and throw some money our way. On this episode, we'd like to thank Michael M., Punk Rock Pirate, Brian R., Mark D., Meredith W., Drunken Monk, totally not your real name, but I hope it is, Simeon S., and Zachary T. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for the support. We really appreciate it. Now, you can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com, and the first one today comes to us from Crab. I didn't read ahead, and all I can picture in my head is an actual crab, just like with his two claws, just tic-tacking, writing an email.
Secretly ghost crawler.
Secretly ghost, that'd be great. That'd be fantastic. Greetings, vexed cockatrices. As I hope I said that right. I just feel like I should have bleeped myself.
Cockatrices?
Cockatrice? I don't know. I love your show, guys. I'm one of the people who plays every week's Tavern Brawl just once for the free pack. Tavern Brawl doesn't interest me, especially when they have a rerun. But I have a great idea to make them more thematic and interesting. How would you feel if each week's Tavern Brawl was themed after the current expansion and told a story which unfolded 1 week at a time over the course of the expansion? It's a really easy way to explore the lore of Hearthstone. You could have a Tavern Brawl about the true identity of Kazakus, and maybe one about how Aya wants to take over the world with Jade Golems, or how about Don Honcho and his secret 3-way love affair with insert legendary card? That got real dirty real fast. It is Valentine's after all. We should go back and talk more about what we're shaving with our Harry's razors, I guess. Over the course of an entire expansion, you could have a story with drama, character arcs, and big sweeping conclusion to fill out the last week of the expansion. Maybe the last weekly Tavern Brawl for Gadget Zan could be the Great Gadget Zan Bank Heist. It could be a PvE event where you have to battle the bank's automated defenses. Finally, the expansion will end with Kazakus, Aya, and Don saying, "We had a lot of fun with you over these past months. Thanks a lot. You are awesome." The end. Wow, that you really didn't end on a bang there, Crab. I'm on board for everything you just talked about except your ending. You need to work on that. I'm going to send you back some notes.
Get some
We're going to
writers
work on
in
the
here.
script.
We need a better ending.
Yeah. No,
Don
I mean,
Honcho stabs Aya, and then as Aya's dying breath goes to Kazakus, who cures Aya with a Kazakus potion. And, yeah, I don't know.
well, now it's
I don't know where I'm going with
It's
this.
a Saturday special that ends in a really happy ending.
They
where
all
they
ride off
all
into the
get
sunset.
along and peace settles across the gadgets. I don't want that either. Ugh, that sounds terrible. I mean, what you're basically saying is make adventure for expansions, which I'm all for. Why not? That being said,
Cool.
I probably still would only play it once and move on.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a super cool thing if you had Tavern Brawl as like a storytelling device, and they can use it that way. But I love how at some point in the email they're like, it's a really easy way to explore the lore of Hearthstone. Like, oh yeah, this is totally easy to just design a storytelling Tavern Brawl every week while an expansion's out to tell another piece of a story. Like, I'm sure they have plenty of engineers who are just like, yeah, I got free time to design a
Make new
ton
bosses
of
and
Tavern
new
Brawls,
cards.
all thematically wrapped around our current expansion. It's cool, and I think what they should probably do is maybe incorporate this sometimes. Like, here's like do more storytelling in Tavern Brawl, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also sometimes it's fun to have these kind of what if you could do this in Hearthstone Tavern Brawls, right? Which is kind of what it works like now.
Yeah, it's very sandboxy, and I wouldn't want to see it lose that. And I think that if they were to do something like this, because they did say, and I'm pretty sure actually in our interview from BlizzCon, they said that they were looking for more ways to tell stories because they have such a rich world, specifically in Gadgetzan, and I would say League of Explorers as well. They've created this really, really rich world, but then there's no actual like storytelling to it. So I would like to see them do something, probably in Tavern Brawls, because I wouldn't want, the next adventure to be about Gadgetzan. So I think Tavern Brawl is a good place to do it, but I agree. I would want it, like maybe once a month you get another chapter of the story or something. And then they would also have to, I would hope, they would have to say something like, okay, you've played it once. Any voiceover or pop-ups, you don't have to see that again if you want it to be replayable. Because that, I remember... it might have actually been the Gadgetzan Tavern Brawl that they did a few weeks after the expansion came out that had the like Aya pop-ups, and I was just like,
you would
I
randomly
hate her.
get
I
one
hate
of
her
the
so
bosses.
much.
Yeah, and they kept having all this RP at the beginning of
Yeah.
every single one. So without that, but yes.
So I think, seeing the RP interactions and the storytelling, once per pairing or however it works out, that would be great. But I wouldn't want the storytelling RP every single time. But I like this idea.
Yeah, no, I'd be all into it as well. That being said, I don't want to be the guy that's like everyone on the official WoW forums. It's like, oh my God, there's a new pet. Why didn't you use it to fix X? Because usually people have different actual jobs and not everyone is working on everything. But boy, I would love the effort in what this would take to be put elsewhere. like a tournament.
Yeah, there's other
mode.
things that are like higher on my priority list for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, we know that there's somebody who's still designing tavern brawls, so this is like more fodder for that. So.
Yeah, and I mean, what they said in our interview from BlizzCon, Jocelyn, about them telling more stories. I mean, I think a lot of that was alluding to all of the kind of pre-announcement hype that they were doing, the stuff with the Gadgets and Gazettes and the Facebook Goblin bot that would talk to you. I thought that was all very cool. I think they could have kept it going after the expansion because it was kind of like Mean Streets hit, and it's like, okay, and there you go. It's just here. We're gonna shut up now.
Yeah.
And you guys have your fun, which is fine. I get it. I was having a blast. But why not? Why not still continue the fanfare? Why not have a few more Gadgets and Gazettes afterwards? I mean, we got our.
I'm interested in the in-game storytelling.
Yeah. Well, that too. But we really haven't seen it done to even close to this degree with any of the actual expansions. That's what we get with Adventures. But you're right. I mean, Gadgets and was so well thought out. It's such a cool story. So much to the point that the three of us would really like to see that updated in World of Warcraft to reflect the Hearthstone version of Gadgets Ends because it's far more interesting. So yeah, I would like to see more of it in game as well. But anywho, next email, Dills.
This one comes from Jonas, who says, "Hi, Angry Chickens. Over the last few episodes, you have talked a lot about how ladder is very different from how tournaments work, and that an end-game tournament mode could be a long-term solution. What do you think about, as a short-term idea, allowing players to ban one or two classes on ladder, which they will then not be matched up against? This would have three-man effects. Encourage creativity by opening up possibilities for decks that are currently dominated by popular ladder decks. De-incentivize playing the strongest deck, because doing so, you would know that anyone you are playing against made the decision to not ban your class, and has probably teched their deck accordingly. Avoid the frustration of queuing again and again into the one class that you just hate playing against. I think the technology for this should be there, and it would only mildly confuse new players. What do you think?" We've talked about this idea on the show in the past, the ability to ban something on ladder.
It was a while ago, though.
Yeah, it was a
I
long
want to
time
say
ago.
like at least 100 episodes
I
ago.
think I want to say it came up when Hunter was the jam, because we would say a big problem would be if you played Hunter, you would only face other Hunters.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case now, especially now that we've seen the stats that the highest played ever by the population was Undertaker Hunter at 35% of the pop of Hearthstone playing it.
Yeah.
So yeah, at this point, sure, let's just give it a shot. Why not? Let's see how it goes.
To be honest, it's like I think there's a lot of reasons back then that we cited to why this wouldn't necessarily work, but I think we've gone far enough in Hearthstone, and the bans have become like a very kind of it's synonymous with Hearthstone tournaments now. There is a ban, right? And I think it wouldn't have a negative effect at this point. I think it would actually be okay. One thing that would be kind of weird though is if there was always, like, there might be certain metas where it doesn't work as well, right? Because if there's one decided upon best deck and everybody bans that, right? Then if you play that deck, like, your queue is just really long, or I don't know. It's like there's definitely an interesting strategy that could go into this, and I honestly at this point I wouldn't mind trying it. Just
I think
to see.
Yeah, I think it's worth a try. I thought that this idea in general was worth revisiting, because I feel like the meta right now is diverse enough that even if you say ban shaman, then you still have, Reno mages, you've got rogues and warlocks, you've got Reno lock, rogues and warriors is what I meant to say. So, I mean, you've got at least 4 other classes that have tier 1 type decks that you could then face. And I think it would also be a lot better for people practicing for tournaments, because then I could say, okay, when I go into the tournament, I know I'm going to ban shaman. So if I ban shaman on ladder, I still get that competitive atmosphere, but I don't have to worry about queuing into a deck that I know I'm not going to play anyway. So it allows me to do a little bit more testing of my deck.
You can actually practice in a realistic way.
Exactly. As opposed to just, queuing into shaman 4 out of 5 times and then hoping that 5th game is something I might actually face into the tournament,
Personally, if I had this right now, I would ban warrior. I'll play shaman all day.
Yeah, me
but
too.
Warrior, I'm just like, man, I do not like getting 4/3 fiery war axes punching me in the face on like turn 2. So, but I
don't
mean,
get
Well,
like,
and
punched in
that's
the
kind of
face.
the idea behind his second point here, saying that, anyone who doesn't ban your class, so
Yeah.
you're saying you wouldn't ban Shaman, it's because you have no problem playing against Shaman, you've probably teched against Shaman, and you're just sick and tired of playing as Warrior. Like, for the longest time, regardless of what the meta decks were, I probably would have banned Rogue, because I just, they had big, bursty, crazy things, they just did Rogue things, and I didn't know what was going on, and I just got rolled by them all the time because I didn't understand the class, I wasn't a very good player, and, so Rogue was my problem class. So then I don't mind getting smacked in the face by Pirate Warrior, because I know they're not going to have turn 6 Rogue things where I just go from 30 to dead, because just Rogue things.
that's true. And I think watching ESL these last few weeks of the team tournament that they're doing, they're banning 2 classes and then like self-banning a class as well.
Yes.
And what you end up with is actually like a really cool kind of meta where certain decks have kind of come to life that are just not viable in any other format, right? So like we've been seeing a ton of Murloc Paladin, right? And we've been seeing a ton of Jade Druid that are actually like these decks have a place where like on ladder they just don't have a place. And if you notice like what's happened on ladder, like I hear people say, oh, I run into nothing but Jade. Slowly over time, and there was a time where I ran into a bunch of Jade, but slowly over time it's like everybody just went like, the other decks are too fast for me. I guess I got to speed up. Okay, they're still too fast for me. I guess I got to speed up even more. And it's like everybody just sped up to the point where it's just like Warrior mirror matches now. Like even like Shaman feels too slow because Warrior has a better start, right? And that's bad when everyone's just kind of like in an arms race to see like how fast they can go. Mm-hmm. And if you could do this, it would slow everything down if you wanted it to, or you could still play fast and, ban like Reno Lock or something that would, kill your aggro deck. And so you could still do that, but the other guys don't have to be, it's not an arms race anymore. Like you kind of decide where you fit in and then you go for that. Like you go for that little section. I think it'd be cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like this. I want to try it. Obviously I would prefer just a new mode where I get to actually experience an HCT scenario, but this is fine.
I think
Why
this
not?
is a good interim kind of fix. Again, something that would just be super easy to implement. Like, what's the holdup?
Yeah, exactly. Because we've seen this in game already, right? No, we've never seen anything even close to this. So, anywho, Jocelyn, the final email and also the final talking point for today.
So this email comes to us from BB Thorne, who says, "Dear polymorphously perturbed poultry, I would describe myself as a semi-casual, semi-free-to-play Hearthstone player. Lately, I found the structure of Hearthstone ranked ladder to be rather demoralizing, since despite the tooltip informing me that I'm ranked higher than most people who play the game, I can't help but be aware that I'm not making it to Legend. I could never be a competitive player in the pro scene. This isn't false modesty. I know my limits, just like I knew my limits playing baseball or basketball when I was younger. This didn't prevent me from playing in recreational sports leagues for various sports, though, and competing and having a ton of fun. Rec sport leagues are incredibly popular in these local rec leagues. There's no expectation that you should be competitive with the pros, only that you can compete with the people in your league. Would it be fun to play in a local sports tournament if every time you played you were told how you measured up? Oh, good job tonight. By the way, you're still nowhere close to being a professional material. I don't need that information. I'm aware of it, I play despite of it, and I have no aspirations of becoming a pro. I just want to play and compete at my level. I don't know what the fix is for this exactly, but I feel like rec leagues would be very interesting. Of course, this would be held organized, and I wouldn't expect Blizzard to put it on. However, if they could develop tools to enable community organizers to do it, I bet it would happen. Look at the hard work the TAC crew have put in organizing community events. I wonder how much better it would be if there weren't in-game tools for organizing, I don't know, a tournament, a league. How cool would that be? Thanks for, as always, the amazing podcast that you put on. You've been a huge part of making Hearthstone such an enjoyable game for me. Like you, I only want to see them improve the game that I really enjoy. So I think, so this email was put in before the changes to ladder were announced, and I think that might help this a little bit with the whole identity and the, place that you belong. Like, how well did you do in your rank 10 bucket this month, maybe? I don't know. But
to a certain extent, but I think really the point here is that if you're ranked 17, that there are 16 ranks above you, right?
Yes.
But when you go to your park and you play a game of pickup basketball, you're not like, oh man, there's college.
Look
and
at all
then
the
there's-
leagues ahead of me. Yeah,
and then
or
there's
above
Europe,
me, yeah.
and then there's the NBA. Like you don't like literally see like a number next to
Yeah.
you. Like you are rank 5,000 in basketball, right? Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't exist. And obviously, like that's not something that can really go away in video games when you want a competitive ladder. You kind of like that's how it just kind of works, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that be like I don't think there's like any solution to that in game that makes sense for the game itself, but there are quote unquote rec leagues out there. I mean, I run a friggin' league, Dill's Hearthstone League, right? And like people play in that and they meme deck all the time. And
why did you have to pick such a complicated name? No
I
one
know,
is
I
ever
didn't
going to
want
find that.
confuse anybody, yeah. But it's like there are other things like that going on. I've actually the reason that got started was somebody who watches my channel a lot was like, hey, I play in this Hearthstone League and it's really fun. You have a lot of people who all kind of know each other because they watch your channel. Why don't we start that up here? And it worked out. So the fact that that's how it kind of started means that there are plenty of that going around, right? Mm-hmm. And the people who play in the Dill's Hearthstone, like I don't know about other leagues. I know about this one. They all talk all the time about how fun it is to like get out of the ladder situation and just play a match against somebody else who just is also there to have fun. And then they make friends and whatever. So, I mean, this exists. You just got to go out and find this for you. Like, you got to seek out what you want, right?
Yeah, and I think you can do that kind of one of two ways. Like the first way is basically what Dill's mentioned is, find a community, find a streamer, find somebody who is already doing this sort of a thing. Or you can also go kind of straight to the tournament source, which generally there's a whole bunch of different websites that do it, but the one that we use is Battlefy. And you can literally just go and search for Hearthstone tournaments, and it'll show you all of the tournaments that have been organized on Battlefy, and you can find a league that way. So there's a whole bunch of different like ways you can search through the website that'll show you exactly the kind of thing that you're trying to find. So I think, just one of two ways, either, use the website that is the tournament tool, or, find a streamer and poke them like somebody poked Dills and say, start a league.
I don't know.
Or start it yourself.
Go to these new things that are just getting started called Fireside Gatherings.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Garrett will be at one this weekend.
Outside my house, and I don't like going outside with like people.
Well, so there's a lot more of this stuff going on than people think. There's a place called Mr. Tramps here in Austin where every Monday they have a local Hearthstone tournament, and it's kind of just for fun. And some people just show up just to like mess around, but some people play. Like Trump showed up to it and won.
Wait,
like a few weeks ago. the Hearthstone Trump. And like that would be a super cool thing, right? If you're a Hearthstone fan to show up and like a big streamer is there playing in the tournament. But it's kind of like with anything. If you refuse to kind of like go out and find the like-minded people, it's always going to have like a little bit of frustration behind it. So you got to kind of like put in the legwork of finding those people, but they're out there, right? Everyone in chat just mentioned, I suck at golf. So what did I do? I was like, hey, me and my buddy, let's start a mediocre golf association. And then we never have to, I can actually win tournaments in that because we surrounded ourselves with other terrible golfers, right? And it's like those people are out there. You just got to, you got to do the work. You found our show, step one. You emailed us and we responded. Step 2. Now step 3 is go out and find the other people, like the other people who listen to the show. Go to our Reddit. Be like, hey, who wants to hang out and play some games? That could be your rec league, right?
Yeah. All that being said, I don't take this as us discounting wanting a tournament mode of some sort.
Yeah,
at all.
I think that goes without saying almost at this point.
I love Firesides. Do not get me wrong, but I can't help but feel that part of the reason they're not as big as they could be is because at the end of the day, this is an online digital game. A lot of the reason we're playing this is because we can do it in the comfort of our home. We can do it on an airplane. We can do it while on the subway. So
you can do it in the road.
Yeah,
why don't we?
You can do it in a box. You can do it with a fox.
Like, where else can we do it, Garrett?
Thank you for derailing my entire point, Jocelyn. I really appreciate it. But
you could do it in the morning. You could do it in the evening.
What about the afternoon, though? You didn't mention that.
Do it in a Burger King bathroom.
I'm really thinking about it hanging up and continuing my point because I have that power. But my point being is I feel like there are probably some folks that may or may not work at Blizzard are like, well, people are already doing this. You can go do it in person. And that's fine, but it feels like a cop-out answer to me. This would be a lot more successful. There would be a lot more of this going on if it was supported natively in the game itself. And you didn't have to jump through a whole lot of extra hoops to do it. I've tried getting a Hearthstone group together at my local game store, and they would just rather play Magic because they can play Hearthstone at home. They cannot play in-person
Yeah,
paper
it's like
Magic
we all got together. Why are we playing Hearthstone? We can do that at home.
Exactly.
Right? Let's play the physical card game that we can't do at home. Yeah, no,
Exactly.
It's true. It's very true.
So that's embrace your medium, please, is really what I'm asking for.
Yeah, and I actually, Frodan was talking about this in an interview that I think I talked about a few weeks ago too, but that's one of the huge advantages that Hearthstone has. So you got to now like find ways to harness that advantage, right? Which is like the things like the tournament mode where I can just be sitting at home, log in and play with people who are at my level in a meaningful way. That's not just the ladder, right? And do like a fireside gathering, like an online fireside gathering, right? Where like special rules apply and you can have fun with people and it's more of a social atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. That could all be really cool. Just if it was in the client, then it wouldn't be something you had to go outside to seek out, right?
I mean, even going further, having an in-game tournament feature of some sort would be awesome for a fireside, especially if they built in like their Find Nearby Players tool. Like, oh my God, if I had like a tournament mode and you could send that sucker out into the Wi-Fi signal, it's like, and players who are actually local on the same Wi-Fi can discover that and just log in. So I don't need to corral everyone. All right, all 16 players get over here. Yes, I'm yelling. No, I'm not angry. This is just my yelling voice. They could just, disperse anywhere there's a Wi-Fi signal and be playing in the tournament. That all sounds lovely to me. So I'm going to keep harping on it until it exists. So thanks for writing in, everyone. Including BB Thorne. Again, you can send your emails to tacpodcast@gmail.com. And I think that's going to wrap it up for our first non-2-hour episode in weeks. It's almost like when they give us actual information, we don't have to run around in circles speculating.
Imagine that.
Hard facts. I love them. I love them so much. We are, as always, supported by our epic patrons over at patreon.com/TAC. Thank you all so much for your support. Huge thanks to our producers, Declan H. and Peter Williams. We have swag available. T-shirts are for sale over at shirts.amove.tv. Custom etched glassware can be found at etched.amove.tv. Make sure you go check that out. Follow the show on Twitter at TAC Podcast. Catch us live Tuesday nights at 4 p.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/amovetv. And a reminder, we will be live tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern on Amove, streaming our three-headed chicken stream. I don't think we actually know. I love that Jocelyn is holding up her Post-it.
I had to write it down at the beginning of the show so I didn't forget.
I live and die by Google Calendar, so that's where my Post-it is currently living, where it will ping me tomorrow, half an hour before the stream is supposed to start. But yeah, don't forget about that. I don't think we know what deck we're playing yet, but I'm sure we'll be decided upon via our private Slack channel, the three of us talk in. So anyways, Dills, when you're done being an angry bird of some sort, preferably chicken and not a mobile game I have long since stopped giving a crap about. Angry Birds, by the way, not Hearthstone. Where can folks find your work?
You can check me out on Twitter at WillyDills and twitch.tv/WillyDillsSF. Last night we streamed live pool from the pool hall, so expect more of that because it actually worked. But most of the time it's going to be Hearthstone and me raging, and hopefully soon not raging because of pirates, which is great.
You'll be making
Look
other
out for
people
that.
rage because you'll be at rank 5 playing meme decks.
Oh, yeah. Lots of meme decks on my stream. Although right now, the main focus is rounding out all my gold classes. So expect me to play any class I have that's not gold, which I'm starting to run out of. I'm getting pigeonholed a little bit.
Have fun with Paladin.
So what are you down to? Yeah. Paladin and what?
Paladin, Shaman, Priest, and Druid. That's all that's left. Yep. Got my work cut out for me, though.
I feel like I need to work on this now too. I've got my Golden Hunter, but that's it. Everything else I've kind of, other than Rogue, but everything else is kind of in the like 350 to 400 range. Like you have to, really tunnel vision it.
So. Once I did that, I knocked them out. Like it was like, oh, I got another one and another one, so another one. I get
bored too quickly unless it's something like Shaman where there's multiple different types that I can go and play that are viable.
Sure.
I swap around like crazy, and that's my wins are
I do
spread
that too
so
most
much.
of the time, and that's why I had so many so close, right? But now it's just kind of like, it's just like being goal oriented, right? It's like, in World of Warcraft, where you're just like, I need to earn that mount. What do I have to do for that? Okay, I have to do this every day, right? You just kind of get that mentality going.
I believe
and
Jocelyn
push
just
through.
got electrocuted.
No, I was gonna say, I remembered I wanted to remind everybody that the archaeology quest, it's a Warcraft thing, but still the archaeology quest that gives you the spectral moose mount is up this week. So even if you've never done archaeology before,
Oh, I want that.
go and do that this week.
So
Oh,
excited.
I feel
want
like I
that.
need to tell everyone because they haven't put the quest out since Legion was released. So everyone needs to know that you have to do it this week.
And if you want to hear that again, plus probably another hour and a half of WoW talk, subscribe to For Azeroth.
Yes.
Jocelyn, other than For Azeroth, where can folks find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Twitch. I'm at Joss Plays. That's JOCE Plays. You can also find me right here on twitch.tv/AMoveTV every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern for The Gamers In, which is my general gaming show. We're only a couple of weeks away from the Nintendo Switch.
Did you
I'm
cancel your
excited.
pre-order, or did you decide to stay
I
with
did
it?
not. I kept it. Spoiler
Okay,
alert for
alright.
the episode where we talked all about the Switch.
I was about to say, I thought you kind of got after playing it, you were a little more, lukewarm on the Switch, but
Yeah, but if looking at how the Switch played Zelda, if the Wii U plays it worse, I would not want to play that version of Zelda.
ooh, that just sounds like it sucks no matter what I'm playing it on. The way you worded that.
Yeah, it's not awesome.
Well, anything's better than waggling at my screen like I did on the Wii with Twilight Princess. So.
Yes, there's no waggling.
Thank God. Sign me up. Awesome. Folks, you can find me on Twitter at Garrett Art. You can find my graphic design portfolio, and you can contract me to do graphic design for you over at nomoonart.com. Everything else I do can be found over at emove.tv. There are many podcasts. Check out my solo show, The Angry Nerd, for example. Check that out. That's going to do it for this episode. Thank you all for listening. Thank you, Team 5, for 2 very lovely nerfs that we very kind of boringly agreed on. This is like, balance. Cool. Moving on. Thank you very much for it, Team 5. Thank you all for listening. Until next time, job's done.
Job's done.
Job's done.
Yes!